How to get warm investor referrals the right way. We're doing a series. We just wrapped up the first one. Use the Q&A box or chat to ask questions, everyone. Would love to interact with you if you have your own questions that you want to ask there. Pre-referral sources, that's what we're covering. The first one, it's done in a previous clip. Go check that out. It's through advisors. In this segment, we're going to be talking about getting referrals from other founders. What does that look like, Will?
It is the hidden gem. It's the ninja move. It's the hack that I give people every time. And when you hear it, you're like, oh, damn, that's actually really smart now that you've said it. But I stumbled upon it. Allow me to tell you the story of how I stumbled upon this hack and how it changed my life. I'd moved from Columbus, Ohio, not exactly the hotbed of startup activity or more specifically investing activity. I'd never raised a penny in my life. I moved to Los Angeles. And at the time, the company that I was running and starting was doing casting for television. So that's why I was in Los Angeles. But I was soon thereafter starting another company that was essentially what a firm is today, allowing people to buy stuff using weekly payments, or in my case, weekly payments. I'm in LA for like a year, Ed, okay? And I'm going to all these events, all these Hollywood events and everything else like that. I'm meeting no one in technology. Not a single person used the word internet that wasn't something to do with Hollywood, right? The entire time I was there.
Sure.
And after a year, I'm like, damn, I'm in a huge city and I'm not meeting any tech people. This is so weird. So I go on to LinkedIn, right? And I type in anybody with .com in their company name on like a radial search for where I was. Okay. First guy that pops up is another founder, a guy named Jason Nazar. Jason was the founder of DocStock, which he sold years ago. And he's the CEO of Comparably, which I think he just sold too. Anyway, I didn't know this guy from Adam. That's the most important part of the story. Okay. I did not know this guy whatsoever. I messaged him on LinkedIn and I said, hey, I don't know you. You don't know me. We're both founders. I've been in town for a year. I haven't met anybody else in technology. You're the first person that popped up. I know this sounds weird, but would you grab a beer with me and just chat? Here's the crazy thing. Goes back to what I said about advisors. Cool thing about founders is we love to meet and help other founders.
We certainly do. We empathize with you. It's a fraternity, man.
and let me give you, for those that don't quite get it, let me give you two examples, right? In other worlds where this exists. You go to any airport bar in the world, okay? And you have a guy that sits down at the bar, okay? And a guy that sits down next to him. And the moment they find out that they're both service people, they both served in the military, they're instantly best friends.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go, right? Now, the reason for that is because they have a shared experience, right? Shared trauma in this case. and they have immediate respect for each other, right? Because they understand that the old term, we spill the same blood in the same mud, right? Mm-hmm. Like they understand each other. Now, let me give you a totally different parallel, okay? We're in a grocery store and there's two moms in the grocery store, okay? and they both have their kid in the cart. And one kid is going bananas, throwing all the cereal boxes everywhere. The moms just look at each other and they both know. They don't actually have to say a word. Right? They both know exactly what that moment means.
Yep.
And they empathize. Okay. My point here is founders are exactly that. It is a universal fraternity that we understand each other. We understand what you've been through or what you're about to go through. So when I messaged Jason Nazar, he had no idea who I was. The reason he responded, other than just being a great guy, is because he likes other founders. It would just so happen that he also wound up being like a super pro founder kind of guy. But Jason and I get together, and this is where this starts. Jason and I get together, and we're just talking about life. He had just raised his round for DocStock. And I said, yeah, man, I've been in town for a year. I haven't really met any tech people. He said, well, I'm going to save you a bunch of time. There's 8 people in this town that you need to know. Specifically, it's this person, this person, this person, this person, and I'm going to introduce you to all of them right now. Within 24 hours, I had met what would become 4 of the most influential people in the LA tech scene in the years to come. Jason had no incentive to do it. I wasn't asking to be on my advisory board. I didn't have some like crazy pitch I told him. It was just 2 founders trying to help each other out.
Identity creates a sense of belonging. And because both of you identified as founders, you belong to the same universal tribe family. And therefore, you just want to help each other. And yeah, it happens every single day here at Startups.com. We hang out with other founders, and there's just something in us. It's the most helpful community I've ever been a part of, Will.
And people, they don't have to try to be helpful. They just want to be helpful, right? It's just an inherent nature. It's also fun to share this journey with other people, right? It's the same way that I look at when people get into hobbies, and then you meet all the other nerds in that hobby. Right. And they're kind of welcoming depending on, what the category is. Like, oh my God, you're getting really into this, welcome to our world. You're welcome to our shared experience. How does that affect you getting investor introductions?
Sure.
Here's how you do it. Here's how you be very, very specific about it. The way to get introductions to investors is through founders who have been invested in by those investors.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Perfect.
And so you go on the Startups.com database, you go on the Crunchbase database, PitchBook, whatever you use, and you say, hey, I'm in the healthcare space. I want to find out what companies have been funded within healthcare. And I want to see what founders were the founders that were funded for those companies. And I'm going to reach out to them. And you reach out for advice. Ed, what's the saying about reaching out for advice, ask for advice?
Yeah.
If you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. Right?
Exactly. That's what we talked about, the way not to do it. Don't contact them and say, hey, I need you to introduce me to your investors. Right cold, the first contact.
Yep. Worst possible thing you can do. Okay.
Yes.
And frankly, it's like any other relationship. You need a minute to build a relationship.
Sure.
Here's how that works. Let's say that I turn up on your search, Ed. Okay, so you're the founder. You're a founder looking for capital. I am a funded founder that has a relationship with these investors. Now, a couple things. When you reach out to me and say, hey, Will, I'd love to get your advice on a fundraise I'm doing. I saw you raised from some investors in my space, so I think you'd be uniquely suited to give me some of this feedback. My first thought is this. Hey, this person's going through the same shared experience that I just went through. Happy to hear them out and see if I can be helpful, right?
Sure.
And I feel appreciated that someone cares about the knowledge that I have. So we get together and we're chatting, and you come to me and you say, hey, well, I know you had raised from Andreessen Horowitz, A16, right? How'd you do it? Like, who'd you talk to? What was the pitch? What do they care about? I am a wealth of knowledge to translate to you, Ed, exactly what that firm needs to hear, because they gave me money. But more importantly, I can tell you what they don't want to hear. I can tell you what giant assholes they are, right? I can tell you, I can give you, what you're thinking is you just want the intro, but I don't think you understand how much information I actually have.
Yeah, the
right?
intel,
right? I got the intro, but I got the intel, okay? And guess what? I just raised from them last year. This is the part no one thinks about. I just raised from them last year. It's not like I made one call to one VC and got one check.
Sure.
I talked to every single fund in this category that you're about to go in. You're going into B2B healthcare, right? I just pitched 50 VCs in the last year in B2B healthcare. Let me tell you who you should talk to, who you shouldn't talk to, who was a giant pain in the ass, who I wish I could have gotten if I had said something different, so you should say that, so on and so forth. I am a wealth of information.
Let's talk about the incentive structure, because, Will, I think there's more we can stack on top of that to really hammer this tactic home. Yes, we want to help other founders. Totally accepted. But here's the other thing. Well, when I had an investor, I know if that investor needs to make, let's say, 10 deals a year, they've got, a bunch of dry powder sitting around.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, Will, and this is true. It crosses my mind. I go, I might fail and lose all this investor's money. If I refer another founder and it goes really well, that's a way that I can thank the investor. Right. And I look good for the investor. And I may need that investor again for follow-on rounds or referrals to other investors, which we're going to get into in just a moment. So the network becomes the net worth, and also company valuation and all those things. So there are additional incentives for founders to refer their investors to other classy founders who are going to do right by them, who are going to represent them really well. And this whole it's a small world, man. The ecosystem is very small.
It is. And so as a founder, if I know that I can specifically target other founders that are likely to have a conversation with me, that are likely to be able to give me a voluminous amount of intel, and if things go well, make some introductions. But see, here's the thing. When the founders that are fundraising hear that, their response is this, Ed, that just seems like a lot of work.
Right.
Yeah, so is fundraising. And this is how fundraising works. The myth is, I don't want to do any of that. Ed, I just want you and Will to just open up your Rolodex, make 28 introductions, and let me move on. And I was like, if that service exists, that somebody that can make 28 quality introductions and all you do is just pitch investors that are going to fund you, go there. Don't ever talk to Ed and I again. In fact, let us know who that is, because we'll sign up for exactly that service too. It doesn't exist. And I know it sounds wonderful. The parallel that I'm going to draw here is this. I have a bunch of friends because of my advanced age that have all become newly single. And they all say to me, hey, I don't want to do Bumble or Tinder or anything else like that. I just want you to introduce me to the perfect person. If that service actually existed, I'd be a trillionaire, right?
Yeah.
It's like, indirectly, I guess I had done that earlier in my life. But my point is, you're doing these things not because they're easy, but because it's the only way to get them done.
Right. Okay. So, Will, let's wrap this up. Walk the founders through that. Listen to this. Say, this is a great idea. I'm going to contact other founders to get referrals to their investors. Give us the playbook step by step. What should they do as soon as they finish this video?
First thing they should do is they should have a list of 10 companies that have been funded in their industry. Okay. Sometimes people are like, well, are these competitors? Probably not. Right. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people in your industry that aren't necessarily your competitors, right? Like, you're in the music industry, but unless you're specifically selling music digitally on a subscription basis, you're not competing with Spotify. You're just in the same industry. Okay. And so the first thing is a hit list of who those founders are. Here's the difference. Those founders will probably respond to you. These investors that you're going to talk to with no reason for them to talk to you, a lot less. So you have a higher success rate. Second part, if I'm successful, again, let's say, Ed, I'm pitching you and you're a funded founder. You're potentially a node to like 6 different introductions.
Sure.
Right? Not all at once, but potentially one after the other. And what we're going to talk about next is the concept of nodes. So I'll use that as a jumping off.
And pro tip, everyone, Crunchbase, you can literally go there, type in your industry, and it will show you which investors are attached there. This information is available all over the place. You can read articles, follow along in TechCrunch. It'll say which investors are there. You want to reach out to them, and that's how you get started. So, Will, that was a great primer.